Have we lost
Okay,
every-
I'm sorry, guys. Is it working now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, it's working.
Okay, this is like, I'm getting a lot of lag time or something. I'm present, attending remotely from Columbia Township, the 20% that doesn't have good internet.
And I'm Ken Speicher. I'm president at the Township Hall. We have a full agenda. Part D, approval agenda. We have agenda before us. Are there any additions or subtractions to the agenda? We did do a little update to the agenda that clarified a couple things. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll move that we accept the agendas as provided.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Is that Beverly?
Yes, it is.
Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
And Ken is a yes. Public comments on the agenda items. We have 2 periods for public comments, one before getting into the agenda items. So the public can provide comments on the agenda items. And the second period is for all other comments at the end of the meeting. Do we have any public comments at this time?
Okay, I'm watching chat. You guys are also welcome to raise your hand or open your mic. I do have some written comments, but I'll allow anyone that wants to speak to talk first.
Hey, Christy, it's Janine from Bloomingdale Communications.
Hi, Janine, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just, we wanted to go ahead. I wasn't sure if the ARPA was on your agenda or not. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to review that, but we just wanted to kind of give you all an update that we have the quotes for the Saddle Lake area and are requesting RUS to allow us to use the funds committed by Columbia Township to help get that portion of the Reconnect Round 1 project underway. So we are in the process of going ahead and getting that moving forward. And then we are going ahead and submitting a request for ARPA funds to Van Buren County. And we're hoping to go ahead and have that completed by the end of this week. However, anyone, from Columbia Township that would be willing to go ahead and submit a letter of support to Van Buren County's ARPA committee, that would be fantastic, as that does go ahead and help move us along in the process as well. So we just wanted to kind of let you know that we are moving forward with the portion of the Saddle Lake area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Is my mic open?
Yes, it is.
Anybody ahead of me?
Nope, go ahead, Karen.
Okay. And that last speaker, I think she said Janine, so she's with Bloomingdale Communications, I take it?
Yes, that was Janine. She does assist at Bloomingdale Communications, yes.
Okay. Just a couple regular comments on the agenda. Looking at the invoices, I'm just looking for some clarification. It looked like there was $1,001.74 for blight removal that came from the Housing Rehab Fund, which, as far as I'm concerned, is fine. I just wanted to make sure that was allowable because there may have been some restrictions on the funds. And And there's also a check that was written to 3362 in the amount of $530 to Eventric Technology. That name is unfamiliar to me, so just wondering what that one was for. On item regarding the retirement plan, I don't remember seeing this document in the past. It looks like it's a renewal, but it did look like this adoption was effective for January of 2021. So I was just clarifying if that's correct and if there were any changes from previous formulas for how to come up with the retirement plan. And then in the employee handbook, of course, there could be lots of different things to go over. But briefly, for the sake of any listeners, is it correct that the elected officials, their deputies, appointed officials, and independent contractors are exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act, and so also exempt from all or most of the employee handbook? If there are things that do pertain to those officials, maybe that should be clarified. And does the handbook currently then pretty much just cover the secretary, the fire department, and I guess maybe the assessor is considered an employee? And several times throughout the handbook, which is a large document, there are times when no particular department head might be assigned. In that case, do all board members carry equal authority, or how do you work that out? And is the fire department scheduling anyone on a full-time basis now? I would hope that we're avoiding full-time and especially overtime, but maybe somebody can comment on that. And does this handbook complement or replace the fire department manual? Because I thought they already had one. Also on your newsletter portion, it should kind of go hand in glove with your website. And if we pre-establish the free dump weekend schedule, that will assure some advance notice for folks. I'm sure a lot of the people that completed surveys would like to hear what the results were and what the board plans to do to address those items. And maybe a good opportunity to invite more community involvement. And I know that the hours of operation at the hall have changed quite a few times over the past couple of years, and I know that a lot of residents are confused at what our current hours are, so I would hope that would be included in the newsletter. So that's my advance comments. Thank you for giving me this time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hey, Ken, I'm not seeing any comments or anything at this time.
Okay, we're going to move on to items in the consent agenda. F1 is minutes from the previous meeting. That would be September 21st, 2021. Expenditures, invoice to be paid. Monthly expenditures and payroll report for the month. Those are their items in the consent agenda. Any discussion?
This is Beverly. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I believe that that we did vote at some time to move money from the housing rehab fund because the fund was so old and it had been so many years that we were able to do that and to use it for blight cleanup because it's a community beautification type of expense. Am I correct on that, or do I need?
No, so when we did the budget this year, we contacted the attorney regarding those funds, and we were able to dedicate the funds to blight. What the attorney's guidance was is that the regulations that originally provided that grant have been replaced with a different set of regulations, and in that new set of regulations, there is a section on blight control. So he gave us the advice that we could use those funds for blight. Yes.
Okay, in the original grant, actually, I was looking back and they did have community beautification and maybe that. But I believe we did vote on this before, of moving those funds to be able to be used for that reason. So I'm just saying that I thought that it was okay to use those funds.
Yes. And we did, like we just said, receive approval from the attorney for that. And also Aventrix is medical supplies for the emergency services department.
I have no further discussion or any questions.
Any other discussions? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. This is Beverly.
Can I get a second?
This Gary, I'll second.
Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes,
Beverly?
Yes,
And Ken is a yes. Right now, we're going to go to item number G, which information and reports. Are there any sponsors of any of the information reports that like to make a comment along with their report that they submitted, or those that didn't submit a report?
I didn't submit a report and I was absent for the last planning commission meeting, but I did look at the meeting online. Thank you. I thought that was pretty awesome to be able to see the whole thing. And I did check with our chair to be sure that I knew what I was going to report. And we did approve the capital improvement plan, and I believe it is ready for a public hearing. That's it.
Anyone else have a comment on their report?
Yeah, I wrote something up, but I didn't get it turned in. This Rhonda. I want to apologize for any inconvenience that happened while I was out of the office with COVID for a month. The body aches were intense and I slept a great deal, but I am on the mend, just fatigued still. But my deputy Karen helped me catch up in the office, as well as Clerk Christie, and I cannot thank you enough. I just pray for Ken and Ruth to get feeling better and stay well. I also pray that our community stays well. Have a great month. That's it.
Thank you, Rhonda. Anyone else?
just a quick addition to my report. This is Gary. It's my understanding that the solar lights for the flagpoles are in. The flags are not yet, they're still on back order. However, since the lanyards, the poles don't have to be taken down to adjust the lanyards and the flags, but they do for the lights. So I'll be getting those lights here within the next few days and getting those placed while the weather's still good. That's the only addition. Thanks.
Hey, Gary, I have a man lift that goes up 34 feet. Would that help you with some of that without taking the light pole down?
Well, I'll have to check on it, but when I did check on the flagpoles, there's just one bolt that has to be taken out, and then it can be lowered down on a swivel. So we'll see. But that might be a good piece of equipment to use. I'll let you know. Thanks.
Let me know if you need it. Anyone else? I'm going to move to unfinished business. A while back, we approached the Van Buren County about 2 parcels of land that they had in being held by the treasurer that were next to the Calhaven Trail. And I went to them and I asked them about us obtaining those two, and we went to the county commissioners and they granted that last month. So to get them, we have to pay the registered of deeds $30 for each of the titles. And what I'm looking for is any discussion on that?
Ken, my only question is, are we planning to hang on to these lots since they're next to the trail?
No, not necessarily. I
Okay.
think that when it comes time to sell them, I will present them to the board and see what the board wants to do with them. And I'll give you pros and cons to what we should or shouldn't do with them, and we'll all decide at once. In other words, you're going to have some time before I put something up for sale.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
Hey, Ken, Commissioner Dora, I just want to say real quick, the board needs to give you a thank you for that, because this was not a 7-0 vote. So Ken's help and a couple of the others, you guys are getting it back. So thanks, Ken, for what you did.
Well, I want to thank the commission for being on the majority side and helping with us, because we couldn't do it without you either. Pay $60 to Van Buren County Registered of Deeds for the two titles transferred from Van Buren County to Columbia Township.
Are you looking for a motion, Ken?
Yes, I am.
I would like to make a motion that we approve payment of title fees in the amount of $60 for properties transferred from the county.
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Vote. Christie,
Yes,
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes,
and Ken is a yes. New business. About 7 months ago, I was approached by a company in Nevada that had a bunch of land in Columbia Township subdivisions, and they were looking at trying to get rid of the properties, and they offered to give them to the township, and the township agreed to take them, and we had to generate the paperwork to do so. So there's a GP and Trust out of Nevada donated 12 parcels of land to Columbia Township using 3 titles to make the transfer of the parcels of land. One of those titles was to be able to sell one of their properties from Desert Star, a corporation they own, to the GP and P Trust, which is the one that is donating the properties. So we had to make a title for that. And then the rest of them are titles from GP and PA Trust to Columbia Township. So what it results in is that to complete the transfer, we need to submit $90 for the 3 titles to Van Buren County Registered of Deeds. And the total number I think we have there are 12 parcels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Looks like 10 parcels. I said 12, but it's 10 parcels of land. Is there any discussion on that?
yeah, Ken, I don't recall this. I'm just wondering what moved them to donate the property? Are they buildable lots, unbuildable lots? Are they vacant lots?
Next to the Les Walden property that we got, there are 3 lots and another township lot that tie to that property.
Okay,
So those are a buildable lot, or they could be used with the Les Walden lot that we got, which also has another parcel owned by Columbia Township on County Road 388 right next to the one that came with that property. So we have a pretty good section there. Another one of the lots are, I believe it's 3 lots, which is a buildable lot on Fire Lane 7. And then between Fire Lane 7 and Fire Line 8, there's another road that has 4 lots that are buildable. So we got a lot of buildable area. There's also one of the parcels is down in Saddle Lake subdivision. And that one, we got to figure out what owner can get that, or what other adjacent property owners.
So Ken, if I understood and followed you correctly, next to the Weldon property, or let me back up a little bit. Out of these 12 lots, it sounded like you were saying that possibly 7 of those are adjacent to the Weldon property, or what was the Weldon property, and the other 3 are in the Fire Lane 7 area, you said?
Well, 7 and in between 7 and 8. There's 2 of them over there. One of them's got 3 lots, one's got 7. And then we got another 3 over by Walden's property. Plus we have 2 township properties that are adjacent to them on Fire Lane 3. So for Fire Lane 3, you got 3 lots plus a township lot. And then on Walden's property, you got another township lot. That's 3 sections from this would go with all that. 3 parcels from this would go with that. Then over on Fire Lane 7, you got 4 parcels on 7, and you got 3 on in between 7 and 8.
Okay.
And then
So-
you got another one down in Saddle Lake.
Okay, so the bottom line on the majority of these it would be all buildable properties. Is that correct?
When you say the word majority, yeah, there's be 3 buildable lots.
Yeah.
We'll get 3 buildable lots out of this, and they should bring, the other ones are
Great.
bringing about $7,000 for a buildable lot in the adjacent areas. So we should be in that ballpark with each one of them. And over on Fire Lane 3, we'd have to decide whether we want to get rid of that or keep that for future use.
But that would be buildable as well.
That would be buildable. And we have another lot to make it even more buildable.
Okay, all right.
So can I get now, when I just told you all these lots, I only have 3 titles because they put like 10 of them on one of the lots, or one of the titles. So there's only 3 titles to deal with. Can I get a motion to pay $90 to Van Buren County Register of Deeds for 2 title transfers from GP and P Trust to Columbia Township, and 1 title transfer from Desert Star to GP and P Trust?
I will support that motion as you stipulated it.
I got a motion from Gary. Do I have a second?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Rhonda.
I'll second.
Rhonda's got a second. So I got a motion and a second. Vote. Christie?
Yes,
Rhonda?
Yes.
Oh, Rhonda. Yes. Gary?
Yes,
Beverly?
Yes.
And Kenzie, yes. I2, Governmental Non-ERISA Retirement Plan Renewal. From looking at this plan, I don't see any changes from the previous. And see, I can't, Karen,
yeah, Karen's question was on the formula. Formula remains the same.
formula remains the same. Is there any other change that are relevant or anything? You don't have any change, Christie?
They did not send me a summary of changes, but they did mention that the formula would remain. I believe this is just to update to current legal standards.
my only comment when I was looking at the non-ERISA retirement, it didn't stipulate, or I couldn't find in there who the custodian of the plan is. Is it still Hancock?
Yes, it is still Hancock.
Okay, I didn't see any codicil or any amendment or any other type of document that would stipulate that it wasn't. So I was assuming it was, but I just wanted to clarify that. And this is a renewal, correct?
Yes.
So are we ready for a motion?
Can I get a motion to renew the government non-ERISA retirement plan as presented?
Yes, I'll make the motion to renew the government non-ERISA retirement plan as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes,
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes,
Beverly?
Yes,
And Ken's a yes. Employee handbook revisions. Our clerk has been working on updating the employee handbook for the last 6 months. The township attorney has reviewed the handbook, and the changes were documented in a red line copy of the handbook along with a clean revised copy for the board to review and comment on. Discussions?
I had sent Christie a document that had 6 different suggestions on it for 6 different parts of the handbook. And she was apparently going to get with the attorney on it just for clarification. But I think there should be some clarification and maybe some wording changed in the introductory statement, the immigration compliance, number 109, 201, the employment category clarification, 509, searches and inspections clarification, some language change there, and also 707 in the attendance, and the last one would be 708 for personal appearance. So I don't know if those have been discussed yet or are returned to the attorney for clarification or acceptance or denial. So maybe she can have us a little input on that.
yeah, so some of these I had talked to the attorney about before, so I'll address those. I'm gonna just run through the list one at a time. But I did send this to the attorney. I did not hear back yet. But I will address these based on my discussions with the attorney prior to receiving the list for now. And we'll go from there. So with the introductory statement regarding Columbia Township as we are us, my proposal is that we just remove we and us throughout the handbook, and we can approve it tonight that the change would be that we and us will be replaced with Columbia Township Board. For the immigration law compliance, I am not sure about that one. That one is not something I discussed with the attorney. My recommendation for tonight would be to approve the verbiage as written. And if the attorney responds back that we can make that change, we can make the change at the next board meeting. For the employment categories, and I'm going to lump a bunch of stuff into this comment here because I know that that was something that came up in Karen's comments as well. So first of all, we are, the attorney told us that we needed to keep the full-time and overtime sections in the handbook, just in case something happens down the road, basically, but it's required to have it in there. We did discuss the hours. The attorney and I did at length prior to submitting this, and the attorney was very comfortable with the 32-hour mark. I believe that's because the 30-hour is a guideline by the IRS, not a requirement. So the reason why I suggested 32 hours is because it's a really simple 4 8-hour days. And as our medical folks, sometimes we struggle with obtaining medical folks. If we can give them 32 hours a week or 4 full 8-hour shifts, that can be helpful. All right, let's see. Next one is searches and inspections. I did not get a chance to talk to the attorney about that. Again, my recommendation would be to approve as is, and we can readdress that next month. and attendance. Let's go down to that one because I don't remember talking to him about that. So 1 second here.
The attendance is number 707.
And what was wrong with that?
Well, my opinion is that any employee absent for 3, and then in parentheses, 3 consecutive days without any contact, not with any call, because you could have a problem with calling in. After that, you have no call, no show. And I, instead of having no.
I'm sorry, Gary, you blanked out there. I didn't hear the rest of your comment.
I just believe instead of having the 3 days with no call, it should be no contact.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there, Gary.
Yeah.
I think that's completely reasonable because it could be a text message or an email, as long as it's something that's verifiable that there was contact. So we can certainly propose approval with swapping the word calling with contact.
Yeah, that was my only consideration on that one.
Yeah, that's a good change. Christy, may I join in here for a second? Or are you done addressing?
I have one more
Okay,
and then I'll be done. And Gary says here, instead of consulting the department head or township clerk, he wants it to say department head or supervisor if you have questions with what constitutes appropriate attire. I don't care if we put supervisor in there. My only reasoning that we put it as township clerk to begin with is because I'm the one that's here most often.
Well, then you could let the township supervisor know.
So you're saying you want them to go to me and then me to go to the supervisor?
No, I say either the department head or the supervisor. If there's a question from anybody, it could be from you, it could be from the treasurer, it could be from me, it could be from the assessor.
No, this wouldn't be from the treasurer or from you. This would only be from our employees.
But it may concern an employee. It wouldn't be for the officials, but it may be from an official that is concerned with an employee.
Okay, so this statement specifically says to consult your department head or township clerk if you have questions as to what constitutes appropriate attire. That's the only thing.
I still say it should be the supervisor.
Well, it's actually going to be, if it's the fire department, it's going to be Dave Johnson. If it's the medical, it's probably going to be JC. If it's other township, it's.
And that's covered as the department head.
That's a department head. And then Christie's got the administrative people and I probably got the contractors if they got issues.
I still say it should be the supervisor.
well, what I'm thinking as someone who, always has worked in offices is there is kind of a standard of, just, I don't see the problem with having the clerk is right there. The clerk is there most hours. Ken's there on different hours. So the clerk is there more than likely more often when an employee is going to be there. And as far as the supervisor or the department head, I feel like we need to add the structure, the flow chart, the who reports to who, so that an employee knows who is the department head, who supervises me on a daily basis. I think that's something.
Well, All the
added to
departments
that.
report to the township board eventually. I mean, the board is going to be the actual one that,
Right, eventually that's who they answer to, ultimately, but like Ruth isn't gonna call the whole board every day to see what she's gonna do. You know, neither is, actually, no one's going to do that, so I understand that they ultimately report to the board, but for a daily thing,
Yeah, I actually like the idea of creating an organizational flow chart. And I'd love to put that on the agenda for next month for us to review. I could bring a draft and we can discuss that at the next board meeting.
I think we need, I think a policy would be good on how we flow with, because this is really like a complaint, and we should have a flow chart, how we get from the supervisor all the way up to the board.
Well, to keep in flow with the handbook and the other documents here that stipulate to contact your department head or the supervisor, that's the reason I'm saying this 708 personal appearance should stay with the flow of the rest of the handbook.
Well, with the fire department, you got to go over the chain of command, and that, that's going to get to Dave before it gets to the township board.
And he's the department head.
maybe we
He's
should
the
just,
department head.
maybe we could have a simple statement of what constitutes appropriate attire. We are a political, we're government office, so they shouldn't be wearing, swear words or whatever on their T-shirt. Are we an office that has office attire and casual Friday, or are jeans and T-shirts okay every day? Maybe just something simple, just with some basics. I don't really see this as a big problem for our township.
Well, then the fire department's got SOPs on what they have to.
Well,
their
sure,
code
they've
of-
got
code dress.
uniforms and things and
Correct,
safety
correct.
equipment, and
Yeah.
they're different than the office.
Well, we'll take a look at this. We'll talk about this one next month. Well, I think Chrissy's on thing. Let's get this approved tonight, and we will pick up on these target items and bring them back for next month with some deep thought, and we'll have the attorneys additional feedback, and we can update it as necessary.
Well, one thing I noticed on the email from the attorney with these attachments was, I noticed their fine print warning on there that they've approved this as written. So if we make any changes with our own words tonight, they're not backing that. So I think it is not a bad idea to approve it the way it is right now. And anything that someone thinks is a real problem, then we could change it next month with the attorneys rewording it, unless it's just something that the board does not feel like they can live with at all right now.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Sure.
Move to approve the employee handbook. Do we want to make it with changes?
Yes, I believe you should stipulate with possible changes.
But we need to specify which changes.
Yeah,
Well, I think if we specify changes, we also specify that and the concurrence of the township board on the changes that we make prior to the next meeting. If we're going to make those tomorrow, the next day. In other words, give him a chance to say, yeah, go ahead and make it everything say township board. Yeah, you're okay to do this. You're okay to do that. And then we'll incorporate them as part of this motion. And then the other stuff that going to take a little more time for us to develop something for him to look at, then that's going to have to be next month that we go over this again.
When you say him, you're talking about the attorneys?
Yes, I'm talking about the attorney having a look at, if we replace it to say township board, and I think we should, and I don't think he's going to have a problem, but I think he ought to know that we did it and say, yeah, that's okay. because he does have his name on the bottom as written.
Correct.
Right, right. And some of the things I saw in there, like the immigration law, that, to me, that was just standard. That was just standard. We're just working with the federal employment laws the way they are.
Yeah, I believe you're correct there. Just a couple other things so that I can make sure I addressed all earlier comments. I would like to confirm that this is an employee handbook, meaning it's for employees, not elected officials, not deputies, not appointed officials, not independent contractors. So it's employees. It does complement, not replace, fire department SOPs. It does not just cover the secretary and the fire department, but the assessor and the transfer station employee and any other employees we may hire in the future. I think I covered this, but just to be sure, we are not currently hiring or scheduling anyone full-time at the fire department.
I think that was well put. I agree with that statement.
So if we want to make the changes that we talked about earlier, I would say in the motion that the changes we propose are to replace us and we with the Columbia Township Board, and the word calling in section 707 with contact at the approval of the attorney.
I think it goes without saying too, that any changes that you put forth to the attorney should be all of them at one time, because it's cheaper that way.
Yes, and I did send all of them at one time, so they have them all. I'm just waiting to hear back.
Okay, there's the motion on the floor, Ken?
We had a motion on the floor to approve the employee handbook as written from the last thing I gathered. And that they were going to pick up on these other things after township board, township attorneys review and approval.
Bev, do you want to confirm your motion?
No, I'd like to change that motion to move to
Sure.
approve the employee handbook with changes, the changes on the attendance section. Instead of call, it's changed to contact.
What
And what
item
was-
numbers are we going to change, Christie?
Well, no one else has the item number, so we're going to change 707 attendance, word calling to contact. And what else, Bev, anything else?
I thought we had number one was going to be the township board, placed we and I.
We and I, yes.
What else did we have?
Were we going to add a flow chart? Or is
That was
that,
6.
is that a separate issue?
I
Why-
would say that that's a separate issue, that would be something else that we would present as a separate policy.
I don't believe the flow chart should be part of the handbook.
Okay, then
Just-
my motion is to approve the employee handbook with the changes of replacing the words we and I with the township board and the words call in the attendance policy to contact.
And what about 509 about probable cause instead of reasonable suspicion?
Well, I felt like probable cause is something that a law enforcement officer would use that term. The way I read it, it wasn't anything to do to enforce a law. It was just to see if someone, like, let's say you're looking at somebody's laptop. It's a township laptop, and somebody's saying, hey, they've got porn on their laptop every time I walk by. So the only way you would know is if you actually open the laptop and find out. That's kind of how I was reading that. And to me, that wasn't unusual from my former workplace. I wasn't uncomfortable with that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay,
All
so
set.
I have a
All seven.
motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to reread the motion just to make sure. Move to approve the employee handbook with changes of replacing we and us with Columbia Township Board and call in section 707 with contact at the approval of the attorney.
Could we add, and the other items will be placed on the agenda for next month?
Are you okay with that, Bev?
What other items?
Well, we got 1 through 7, and I'd like to pick up the ones that aren't the 2 things that we are going to add, and make sure that we look at the 5 others that are out there, which we said
Oh,
we would take to
yes.
the attorney and are with the attorney.
Okay, that works.
Does that work for you, Gary?
Yes, sir, that'll work.
That'll work. You got that in the motion then, Christie?
Yeah, I have moved to approve the employee handbook with changes of replacing we and us with Columbia Township Board and call in section 707 with contact at the approval of the attorney with other items placed on the agenda next month.
Beverly, is that your motion?
Yes, it is. Thank you for
I
asking.
have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Gary second it. Roll call vote. Christie?
Yes,
Rhonda?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes,
Beverly?
Yes.
And Ken, yes. Good discussion, guys. Winter newsletter, topic issues. We had attached to this, the newsletter for review from last year. I actually liked the last winter newsletter, and I do think there's some things that we should think about adding to it, like dump days. I think it'd be nice if we set the dump days, and I think I'd like to see that on the agenda for next month to go ahead and set those. And then I'd like to see that put on our website right away, and we could put that in the newsletter, what the dump days are, and to see our township website.
so
Is there
actually,
any other discussions on this?
yeah, actually, if we want to have it in this winter newsletter, we need to decide now. Because this winter newsletter, I believe, Rhonda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have to have this turned in by like November 1st or something like that.
I think we're on the wrong item. We jumped ahead.
Yeah, we did.
I jumped ahead?
That's all
Yeah.
right.
The newsletter is last now, Ken, so it's the ordinance enforcement reports was actually what we should be discussing right now.
Okay, scratch what I said.
Now you got to say it all over again.
I'll forget by then. Discuss. How did that go from 5 to 4? Okay, I'm looking at my old sheet. Discussion of ordinance enforcement report. We want to move to direct the Sheriff Department and the Michigan Township Services to provide monthly reports of the ordinance enforcement activities. And I had a nice conversation with Gary. I think it was yesterday or Saturday. Yesterday, yeah, I think it was yesterday. And what I really like is Gary brought up a good point of his ability to have oversight and direction of the inspectors for all ordinances for our township. He's got all the experience in the area with blight and dealing with laws, rules, and regulations. He works well with the residents and getting compliance without citations or court involvement. He's been in law enforcement for deputy sheriff, got years of service, got a good background in that, and he's a good communicator and interfacing with our deputy sheriff. He'd be great. Our code inspectors and our zoning administrator, who's also our zoning enforcement officer. So I would expect that all our ordinances could, under the oversight of our trustee, Gary, would be a very smart move for the township to have his expertise and knowledge in the area of that, and to that we go ahead and make him the person to be the oversight of the inspectors and enforcement with monthly reporting of the violations of the township ordinances, and identifying them by parcel IDs to the township boards, that we leave names off from it. That's my thought. Any discussion?
Well, Ken, that was a grandiose explanation. However, I just want to make sure that the board understands that I am not going to be in charge of the blight enforcement. I'll be happy to work hand in glove with our enforcement officer and give him some maybe expertise that helped me in the 4 townships that I was involved with, along with some information and maybe some other little tidbits that he might be able to use, but he's going to have to personalize it himself, so it works best for him. And but he's still going to be the one that has to report and make up the monthly reports, keep a spreadsheet if that's what he desires to do, so things don't slip through the cracks, and be reporting to the township board. Now, with all that said, it's going to be up to the township board to determine what level of enforcement we give authority to our officer. And by that, let me clarify a little bit. 2 of the townships that I worked with said I had free reign while I was on patrol. If I saw something, I should take care of it. The other 2 townships said, you don't do anything with blight unless the supervisor or one of the board members receives a complaint. So it's going to have to be up to the township board to determine what authority we give our officer to take care of these situations.
Well, we can settle that right now, can't we?
I suppose you can.
Suppose we can. We got all of us here. I actually think that we should be anything that is blight, that we should be stopping and talking to the individual about cleaning up. I don't think we should be issuing citations till it's obvious that they're not going to. But I think if they drive by and see something, they should stop in, leave a note about the conditions of the property.
Well, just so everybody is aware that if the officer or an officer, period, is on a public highway or public road or public property, and they see something that's awry or maybe in violation of an ordinance, they have authority to approach that property owner or take care of that situation because it initiated on public property. So
Yeah,
if the board wants to give authority to our officer to use that type of level during his property checks, during his routine patrol, I personally think that's a good way to take care of a lot of situations.
Gary, didn't you once, I know in discussing this in the past, you talked about situations when you were doing just the routine blight enforcement where you found other problems that you were able to identify that, we're supportive of neighborhood watch and stuff like that, but can you talk just for a minute on that, Gary? Can you speak to that?
That's a good way. Blight enforcement is a good way to get to know the people a little better. It also gives you an open eye when you're on their property to possibly solve other things that they shouldn't be doing, such as maybe stolen equipment or stolen property that's been stored in a barn or behind a fence or something. Also B&Es, also drug-related incidents, because once you're on the property legally, then there's not the fruit of the poison tree element that comes into play. You're legally there and you can handle anything else that maybe comes up. So I found it helpful to alleviate a lot of other problems in a couple of the townships that were having a lot of B&Es and stolen property and drug-related incidents.
Well, I think you're our best guy on this, and I still think that you would be the best guy. And when I use the word oversight, I'm not saying that you're out doing it. I'm just saying that you're oversight over the inspectors, the people that are supposed to be doing it, whether they're the sheriff or even the building inspector if he's got a building that doesn't have a zoning compliance permit. That we're checking in with them and making sure that our ordinances are being complied with.
Ken, I think this is, it's a great idea and it's timely too. I would just like to mention that I am aware of a situation where someone is living with they're still living with a permit that they probably should no longer have. But they're becoming dangerous to their area. They've become paranoid. All they've done is, they have a marijuana plot, which is completely legal. But they're shooting at night into the air just because they're afraid people are going to come and steal these plants from them. And it's an out of control situation that wouldn't even be there if we had ordinance enforcement going on. And believe me, I'm not blaming you. I know you're doing a lot to help us in this area.
Well, I feel sometimes like I'm pushing a rope, but
it's overwhelming, and it's the kind of thing that it hasn't been done in a long time. And actually this weekend, somebody said to me, and it was like a gathering, and they said they were looking for land around here by the lakes, because around the lake areas, you get to do what you want. There's no zoning and there's no code and blah, blah, blah. And I did let him know that, well, in Columbia Township, we do have those things. So.
Well, back to the issue at hand, I think if the board would agree with giving the officer free rein for blight compliance, that would be a good move. And not just waiting for a complaint to be called in.
Gary, was that a motion? Sounded like a motion.
I'll move for that.
Can I get a second?
I'll definitely support that. I'm
Who is
just
it?
wondering, did
Bev?
it need to? Yes, that's Bev. Can it be on this agenda item that we make that motion?
This is under discussion of ordinance enforcement and reports. I
Okay,
would say it falls right into the thing. So you're seconding it, or okay, you understand?
okay, I understand. And I actually think that we should also add the directing them to provide monthly reports of the.
Well, I
ordinance.
think we're going to get into another motion for that.
Okay, well, then I support Gary's motion.
Just to be clear, I need to make sure that I know what the motion is. So are we moving to direct the sheriff's deputy to unilaterally enforce our blight ordinance? Is that the motion?
We're giving him free rein on the blight ordinance to enforce it as he sees fit throughout the township, equitably to everybody.
Right, to enforce it as he sees it.
But that's just giving him free rein to do what he needs to do to enforce our ordinance.
So we're moving to direct the sheriff's deputy to enforce blight as he sees it.
Correct.
Meaning with you don't have to wait for a complaint from a neighbor.
Right.
He can drive, if he drives by and sees it, he has every right to stop and talk to them about the conditions of their property.
So Gary, are you okay with the way that I read the motion back?
Yep, that's fine. Either way, the way you did it or unilaterally, it doesn't matter. It's about the same.
Got a motion second? Christie, vote.
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes,
Beverly,
Yes,
and Ken's a yes.
and based on this, just one more little thing, Ken, when we have time, I'd like to set up a meeting between our officer, yourself and me.
Well, he's back tomorrow. I can be available anytime tomorrow, Thursday or Friday, whenever you wanna. Tell me when you want me to set it up, I'll set it up. We'll talk about that later. The second thing, Gary, I'd still like to see you be the oversight of this. And I'd actually like you to pick up all the oversight of all the inspections through zoning and blight and noise ordinance and all of them. And when I say oversight, is that you're just making sure everything's floating and following through on stuff. Not that you're out doing it, but you're looking at the reports, coming up with maybe how we ought to change things or how we could do it better and oversight.
As I mentioned, the officer is going to be the enforcement officer. I
Okay.
will be able to give him some information along with different vehicles that I use to help streamline things. And so things didn't slip through the cracks, and a report would be generated for the board every month. And then the board will see where things are happening. And I'll be happy to do an oversight if that's what you want to call it as far as that's concerned. But bear in mind, the officer who is the certified officer who has the authority would be the one that actually enforces them and works with the building inspectors like I did before, health department, if that comes into play, that sort of thing.
I think we just took care of that for him, right? You know, what I want to make sure is that you have some authority to be able to say that you're the oversight guy and kind of watching out for all this.
Sure, I could be the oversight guy.
So could I get a motion to have Trustee Gary Gruss to be the oversight of Township Ordinance compliance? How about that?
I make that, support that motion.
I guess I made the motion then? No, Rhonda made the motion.
I made the
Can I
motion.
get a second? Can I get a second?
I'll
Any sec-
support if Trustee Gruss is willing.
Are you willing to do what I just said, Gary?
As far as whatever my authority as a level of the law is concerned, yes.
Here's what I'm trying to say, Gary. Is this one person kind of keeps an eye on everything, and that person will report back to the board where there's problems, where we can help assist. But you're going to be the guy that knows that it's going well or it's going bad or we're missing something we should improve in this area and that. Don't you think?
I can do that. It'll all be reported. It'll all be in a report from the deputy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I can give the report if you want. I don't care.
I'm not asking you to give a report. I expect the deputy to. I expect that we're going to get one from Tasha on what she's done on the enforcement of the zoning ordinances, and the officer's probably going to have most of them. So Rhonda, I had a motion by you, Someone asked the question if Gary's agreeable with it. He said yes. Who was making the second?
That me, Beverly.
Beverly. Boy, I can't tell voices. So now I got a motion and a second. Christie,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
I would have said no. Beverly,
Yes.
Ken, yes. Okay, now I got to go to 1.5 again. Okay, I've already talked about the newsletter. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I would like to point out in that July newsletter that that was mailed out to every taxpayer in the township, everyone who got a tax bill should have gotten this newsletter. I see contact information in there for myself, my home number, the one that works very well usually. And I see contact information there for Trustee Gruss also. And I believe that belongs in the newsletter every time it goes out. And maybe it needs updating, I don't know, but I think that's a good point there. Good information for the community to have.
My only comment on newsletters, I would like to see the office hours posted in there somewhere, and as well as on the website.
Yeah, office hours are posted on the website and they were in the prior newsletter. I think when this newsletter went out, we were having some scheduling issues. And so we did not post them in here. But I think we can at least put that we're going to be open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 1. Wednesday hours are up in the air right now, just so that we can give the people that have been sick a chance to catch their breath in the middle of the week. So I can put that in here, but it is a little bit of a moving target. But for the most part, we're still maintaining our 9 to 1 hours as we have for the entire year. So we can put those in there. The other thing I wanted to mention was that if we do want to do the free dump days and we want to publish those in this newsletter, then we do have to decide that tonight, because this newsletter has to be completed prior to our next board meeting.
Well, Christie, I'd like to recommend that we do June 4th and 5th of 2022. That'll be right after Memorial Day, when you'll probably have your most garbage. And September 10th and 11th of 2022, Saturday and Sunday, for a dump day, which would be after Labor Day.
So is 2 the limit? That's how many we're going to do? 2 days?
We can do another one at another time, but we ought to set those two, because those are the big days when you have people from the tourists coming in
Yeah,
to the
sure.
lakes on
that sounds
Memorial
great.
Weekend. They open up their cottage, and then they got the stuff to get to the dump on June 4th and 5th.
Yeah,
And then Labor Day, they're up that weekend to close it back up or start cleaning it up to close up. And that's the days they seem to use it the most.
should we add one more mid-season, like midsummer, or do we need a winter? Do we need a winter free dump day at all?
I'm not sure coordinating one in the winter because of the weather.
Oh, yeah,
You never know what it's going to be like, and
right.
we
You
could
might not even be
we
able to
could be
get
in a
in.
blizzard or something. And
Yeah, I agree.
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure
I guess
we need more than that, because we also are still passing out the passes. And Ruth is really good about everyone that comes into the hall. She asks them if they want their free dump pass. So I think we've used a lot more of those this year than we have in prior years as well.
Okay, that sounds good. And I still think that at some point, every taxpayer should just get their dump pass sent to them, but I don't know, maybe not. I don't use mine, so I got it, but I haven't used it yet.
Well, it is quite an expense. We're not able to include them in the tax bills because of the way the tax bills are sent out. So it would be a separate mailing that would be fairly costly.
Mhm. Well,
think-
I appreciate that we're doing a newsletter.
I think the two publicized ones, as long as the publication comes out in time for the June and September one is enough, along with the two free ones that you get with the card. Plus, people can always buy another dump pass as well. My only comment on the free dump days is that I would like to see some type of quantity for dumping tires. When I spoke to the attendant here a few days ago, he said during that last free dump time, somebody brought in like a ton of tires, which puts us pretty close to over the limit that we would need for Eagle authorization and that kind of stuff. So if we could put in there sometime like maybe a limit of 10 tires or whatever, that would be helpful.
We're going to make a limit of 10 tires
Yeah. Okay.
per property owner.
Wow, 10 even sounds like a lot.
Well, 500 was quite excessive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's abusive, I would say.
I think a lot of residents are picking them up off the side of the road in the township. I think that's why we got so many, because a guy had called the office and asked if there was a limit, and I didn't know.
It almost, I don't think someone picked up 500 tires. If they did, we need to regard them as a hero. Sounded to me like maybe someone had some kind of business to have 500 tires.
We actually had 2 trailers come in full loaded at the last dump day.
Yeah, and they weren't people that were picking things up, but some people
Yeah.
do that as well.
Some people do. We do have a problem over on 48th and a half near the stream culvert. Someone's throwing tires in the stream there frequently. Looks like they're coming from the Allegan area.
Yeah, we get tires on our road every year, but it's usually not more than 4 or 5 in an entire season. So yeah, that was someone abusing our generosity there.
Yeah, so we're going to go to 10. We've already talked to Butch about it. I think Butch was the one that recommended 10 per household. So
So
we
moving through
we
this,
can add that to the motion for the newsletter, that we go ahead and we get June 5th, or 4th and 5th, September 10th and 11th, and tires not to exceed 10.
Yeah.
And then that would set it for good.
yep. So moving through the newsletter, just want to cover a couple things as we go through here. Capital improvement survey last time, I won't need to include that in the newsletter this time. But one of the things that we gathered from the capital improvement survey is email addresses. So one of the things I'll be doing is we already have a MailChimp account. So I'll be adding all those email addresses to the MailChimp account, and not only will they get the printed newsletter, but they will get an emailed newsletter if they provided their email address. And for this capital improvement section, I will ask the Planning Commission to provide an appropriate summary of the survey to put on the website, and then we'll have a link to that summary in the newsletter. And Dave, I think Dave's on the line. Do you still want me to have this emergency service department is hiring firefighters and medical personnel in here?
Who are you talking to, Christy?
I was experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get online here, and you guys were broke up. I did not hear what you were asking.
I was asking if you want us to continue to have this little blurb in our newsletter about how you're looking for personnel.
Definitely. Yeah, we can never be, well, I guess technically we can, but at this point, yeah, we're still hiring. We're always looking for more people, especially like to get some extra part-time people registered for the shifts during the day. So we just have a list of people we can pull from in case someone were to get sick or leave for a better opportunity.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
And then this is what we had on the second page last time. So if we want to continue to focus on blight, I can leave that section in here. Commodities, just to remind them what's available, hall services. And then we
Can
have
we-
this,
Can we get something about RVs?
Yeah.
Just a little
well-
blurb on camping and RVs.
yeah,
That's just one of our biggest issues. They're starting to bring in campers right now and starting to live in them.
we have not heard back from Catherine yet. Let me reach out to Catherine and maybe we can come up with a blurb that she thinks would be best for this. But we will not need this conservation district section because that's all done for the year. So we can put that trailer RV section in here.
That sounds good.
Is there anything else anyone would like to see in the newsletter?
Well, if there were any kind of links to, so you're talking about a link, so this is going to be an electronic newsletter also. I guess most people know about 211 and such.
Yeah, Bev, if you want us to, and I think it's a really great idea to provide just general helpful information, we could have a helpful information page on our website that just provides community information, like information about 211. And then we could reference it in the newsletter.
I like that idea. To have that, a page on the website, and then they can have live links there to get to the appropriate agency. That's a great idea. Thank you.
So thank you, because you just volunteered to help me make the list.
Okay, no, that's not a problem.
Okay, we need a motion on the newsletter.
And what is the motion? To go ahead and do the newsletter?
Well, have a motion to include a newsletter into the winter tax bill,
Oh,
including the 4 free dump days, and the tires are not to be more than 10 per parcel or per property owner, per tax bill. Something like that. Plus,
yeah.
at the same time, the newsletter will get approved to be in the tax bill. That's really what we're trying to do.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Did you get all that, Christie? The newsletter and the winter tax bill, free dump days to be June 4th and 5th, September 10th and 11th, and that we can't exceed more than 10 tires per tax bill. That would be in the newsletter.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second by Rhonda. Beverly, you made the motion, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Christie, you got the wording there?
I have moved to include a township newsletter in the winter tax bill, free dump days to be June 4th, 4 and 5, September 10 and 11, 2022, and not over 10 tires, not more than 10 tires for free dump days.
Per tax bill.
Per tax bill or per resident?
Well, I think the only way we could go by is tax bills, right? The only
We
way
actually,
we're issuing parcel or permits right now, right?
no, we're actually issuing them by resident.
However, we're issuing them right now by residents. Then.
Okay, so no more than 10 tires per resident per free dump day.
Yep. And I got Beverly on the motion. I got Collins on the second. I guess it's time for roll call vote. Christie,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Speicher, yes. Okay, if I'm back on the agenda, I think we're ready for our final public comments. Item number J, do we have any public comments for the end of our board meeting?
Feel free to use the chat if you don't want to use your microphone. Otherwise, go ahead and speak up.
Nobody? Nobody out there, Christie?
I see nothing as of right now.
Okay, going once. Going twice. Last chance. We're moving on to correspondence and announcements. Our next meeting is September 21st. Does any other board member have a correspondence or announcement they'd like to make?
I do. I want to remind everyone that the Emergency Services Department is running their Stuff the Truck event on November 20th at the Family Dollar in Grand Junction from noon until 6 p.m.
That was November 20th?
That is correct.
Excellent.
In
deal.
general, I'm sorry. I would like to make a little announcement in general. I would just like to remind everyone that it is trick or treat coming up soon, and to drive down our roads like kids live there, because a lot of times they do.
Line item L, board comments. Gary,
No, I don't have any specific comments other than I'm glad you and the other people involved with the township are on the mend from COVID. And I hope you continue to do that. Again, we're sorry to hear about Dean Beckwith's passing. There's going to be arrangements Friday and Saturday. I'm not exactly sure. One of them's at one of the churches in Allegan is the funeral on Saturday, but I'm not sure. I think it's around 11 o'clock. It'd probably be information forthcoming on that. Other than that, I can't think of anything pressing other than saying to Christy, congratulations on your daughter getting married. That's a wonderful event. And I know it's probably hectic, but I'm sure it'll just turn out just fine. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Beverly,
Oh, board comment. All I wanted to say tonight was my thoughts and prayers go out to Laura and the rest of Dean's family. And he was a great guy, and that was how I got involved in the township, actually, from meeting Dean. And I just wanted to say how sorry I was. That's it.
Treasurer Collins.
Yep, I just wanna say, prayers for Laura Beckwith and the rest of the family. And he was a very nice guy. And everybody keep getting well as far as Ken and Ruth and myself. That's it.
Christie,
Thanks, Gary, for the congrats on my daughter. It's nice to have a little sunshine in what's been kind of gloomy lately. There's been a lot of passing of people that I care about. Dean Beckwith being one of them. I will certainly miss his boisterous coming through the door periodically over here. And I am definitely keeping Laura and the family in my prayers. Thank you all for a great conversation tonight, and I hope everyone enjoys their Halloween and this lovely fall weather.
Thank you, Christy. Well, I think we've had a very good meeting. I think we're doing very well. I like the nice, open, honest discussions that we can have, and how well we're getting along. And we're progressing. So things are going good. I still don't think that we should be having indoor meetings at this time. I think the three of us that got the virus in the office is probably a good indication that we need to hold off on that and still hang with the requirements of the county health department and county commissioners on their emergency order, which does not open up inside meetings till 12/31/2021. Other than that, I think things are going well. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Okay. I got Gary supporting it. Who made it?
Bev,
Bev. Christy?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gruss?
Yes.
Sherrer?
yes.
Speicher's a yes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:29 p.m. Good job, everyone.